Hello friends, this is Sanjay from lawmen.com. Welcome to part 8 of this video series. In this part, we will be looking at the 15th and the 16th passages from the CLAT PG 2021 question paper, and we will be answering the 12 questions associated with these two passages. If you have started watching this video from somewhere in the middle, I would strongly recommend please start watching this from part 1 onwards. So let's move on to the questions. Even though passage number 15 has been extracted from a different source, I have noted down here that this particular passage is more relevant to the Serious Fraud Investigation Office, that is a SFIO versus Rahul Modi case from the year 2019, because if you look at the details of this particular passage, it is actually an extract of what exactly was decided or what was considered by the court in the SFIO versus Rahul Modi case from the year 2019. You can pause the video here and read the passage, and then we can move on to the questions. Question number 85. As per the provisions of section 211(3) of the Companies Act 2013, the director of the SFIO shall be an officer not below the rank of a joint secretary of the Government of India, having knowledge and experience in dealing with matters relating to corporate affairs. The nature of this provision is which among the following? Now, I have classified this as a direct question because the clue to answering this question is in the question itself. If you notice, there is a mention of a word shall. Now, if you see the words shall or will, then it means that the provisions of that particular section are not non-binding, they are not elective, and they are not directory. But shall or will signify that the provision is actually mandatory. Therefore, the answer A is the correct answer here. Question number 86. Which principle of interpretation has been adopted by the court for the interpretation of section 212(3) of the Companies Act 2013? You would have studied about the various principles of interpretation in the interpretations of statutes subject in your LLB syllabus. Now, I have classified this as a direct question because there is a particular part of the passage which will help us identify which of the principles of interpretation has been used in this particular case. Now, the passage reads that in the absence of any clear stipulation, an interpretation that with the expiry of the period the investigation must come to an end will cause great violence to the scheme of legislation, and with the expiry of mandate, SFIO would be powerless, which would lead to an incongruous situation that serious frauds would remain beyond investigation. So, if we interpret this particular part of the passage, it is telling us that a literal interpretation or a strict interpretation would lead to a situation where there would be a great violence to the scheme of legislation. That is, the intent of the legislation itself would be violated. Therefore, the court has adopted a liberal interpretation here so that the scheme of the legislation or the intent of the legislation is upheld. Therefore, the answer choice B is the correct answer here, which is liberal principle of interpretation. Question number 87. The court has considered that the investigation beyond the time prescribed in the order of the investigation shall be which of the options? Now, this is a direct question because there is a part of the passage which will help us identify the correct answer, and the correct answer as per the answer key is also that it is valid. Now, if you read this part of the passage, it says that on the objective interpretation of the statutory provision, it cannot be said that on the expiry of that period, the mandate in favor of the SFIO must also come to an end. Therefore, it is saying that the SFIO, that is the Serious Fraud Investigation Office work, or this is their investigation, will not end beyond the time prescribed in the order of investigation. Therefore, the investigation will continue to be valid. Therefore, the option B is the correct answer here. Question 88. As per the given excerpt, a strict interpretation of the expression within such period as may be specified in the order will result in which of the following? Now, this question is on the same lines as what we have seen in question 86. Where we have seen that if there is a literal interpretation or a strict interpretation, this essentially causes great violence to the scheme of legislation. That is, the intent or the purpose of the legislation itself would be defeated. Therefore, here if we look at all the answer choices, the option A, which says that such a interpretation, such a strict interpretation would attain the intent of the legislation, is a incorrect answer, and C, will not prejudice the functions of the SFIO, is also incorrect. Since we have seen that A and C are both incorrect, then both A and C cannot be correct, therefore that also can be eliminated. Therefore we are left with one answer choice, which is defeat the intention of the legislation. Now this is a direct question because the same part of the passage that we used for question number 86 will also help us answer this question, which says that in the absence of any clear stipulation, an interpretation that with the expiry of the period the investigation must come to an end will cause great violence to the scheme of the legislation. That is, such a strict interpretation will violate the scheme of the legislation. Therefore, it is essentially defeating the intention of the legislation. So option B is the correct answer here. Considering the expression of section 212 subsection 6 of the Companies Act 2013, an offence under section 447 of the Companies Act shall be which of the following? Now this is a general awareness question because to answer this question authoritatively, you need to be aware of what exactly has been written in this section 212 subsection 6 of the Companies Act. This section and the specific subsection says that notwithstanding anything contained in the CRPC, offences covered under 447 will be cognizable and no person accused of any offences shall be released on bail. So which means that this will be cognizable and it will be non-bailable. Therefore both A and C are correct. Therefore option D is the correct answer here. Question number 90. The expression officers and employees under section 212 subsection 5 of the Companies Act 2013 denotes which of the following? Now this is a general awareness question because this information is not available within the passage, and to answer this we'll have to look at what exactly is mentioned in this particular section and subsection. When we read it, we see that it is clearly specifying that the company and its officers and employees who are or have been in employment of the company. So this part directly supports option C, which says that persons who are or have been in the employment of the company. Therefore option C is the correct answer. Passage number 16 has been taken from a case titled Prashant Mehta versus State of Himachal Pradesh and others from the year 2021, and the length of this passage is 311 words. You can pause the video here, read through it, and we can move on to the questions. Question number 91. Which of the following is not correct in relation to a public interest litigation? Now when we read through all the options, we see that option C is obviously an incorrect statement because it is saying that recourse to proceeding under Article 32 may or may not be taken by a genuinely interested person in protection of society on behalf of the community. So this statement is incorrect. Now I've classified this as a direct question because there is also some clues in the passage which will help us identify the correct answer here. And this is also a general awareness question because as a law student you should be knowing that a person who is genuinely interested in a particular situation can approach the court under Article 32. And if we read through the passage, it says that a person acting bona fide and having sufficient interest in the proceedings of a public interest litigation will alone have the locus standi and can approach the court to wipe out violation of fundamental rights. Therefore, if a person has a genuine interest, then such a person can definitely approach the court. Therefore, the words may or may not, specifically the words may not, make this an incorrect statement. In question number 92, we are being asked in which of the following judgments the public trust doctrine was discussed by the Supreme Court of India. I remember a joke by one of our professors who said that if you have a doubt and one of the answer choices happens to be MC Mehta case, then select it blindly because most probably that would be the answer, which happens to be the case here because the correct answer as per the answer key is option D, which is MC Mehta versus Union of India. Now let's look at what exactly is this public trust doctrine. Now the public trust doctrine is the principle that certain resources, especially natural resources, should be preserved for public use and that the government is required to maintain them for the public's reasonable use. Therefore, the correct answer here is option D, that is MC Mehta versus Union of India from the year 1997. And please do remember that there are several cases with the same title, and if the answer choice had more than one cases with the same title but with different years, then you'll have to be careful so that you select the right answer. Question number 93. Which of the following issues of public interest was raised in the Deepika Jagatram Sahani versus the Union of India case from the year 2021? Now, the answer as per the official key is reopening and providing services of Anganwadi centers in India. Now, the key issue that was discussed and ruled upon by the court was that inadequate supply of nutritious food to the citizens, more particularly to children and women, would affect their health. Therefore, the same shall be in violation of their fundamental right to health and right to live with dignity as guaranteed under Article 21 of the Constitution. So, unless there are any specific reasons for not opening all Anganwadi centers beyond the containment zones, should be made functional by all the states and union territories at the earliest date. So, this particular case is related to the situation where due to the lockdowns that were imposed in India due to the ongoing COVID pandemic, all the Anganwadi centers were also shut down. And since there is a large chunk of population of especially women and children who depend on the food that is being served or supplied through the Anganwadi centers, and the shutdown of these centers would lead to inadequate supply of nutritious food to children and women who were dependent on these Anganwadi centers. Therefore, a PIL was filed, and the court ruled that unless there are any specific or strong reasons as to why these Anganwadi centers should continue to be shut, the union territories and the states should make all efforts to reopen them at the earliest date. Question number 94. Which of the following is not correct regarding the locus standi in a public interest litigation? And it has given us 4 options. Now, if you read through the options, option 1, that is option A, is obviously incorrect, but because it says that only an affected and vulnerable person can approach the court for a remedy. Now, this is incorrect because the very definition of a public interest litigation is that any person who is acting bona fide and having sufficient interest in the proceeding of a public interest litigation will have a locus standi. Therefore, it is not just the affected person or the vulnerable person who can approach the court for remedy, but any person who is acting bona fide and has a genuine and sufficient interest can do so. Therefore, option A is not correct, and therefore that is the answer choice for this question. If a citizen is no more than a wayfarer or an officious intervener, without any interest or concern beyond what belongs to any other of the 660 million people in this country, the door of the court will not be ajar for him. Ajar means open. But if he belongs to an organization which has a special interest in the subject matter, if he has some concerns deeper than that of a busybody, he cannot be told off at the gates. Although whether the issue raised by him is justiciable may still remain to be considered. So question number 95 is asking us, in the context of the statement, which of the following judgments stated this regarding the right of workers in India? So it is asking us to identify the landmark case in which this particular statement was made. Now the answer as per the answer key is the Fertilizer Corporation Kamgar Union versus Union of India case from the year 1981. And this is a general awareness question because this information is not in the passage. When we look at what actually happened in this specific case, this is a landmark case on the maintainability of a writ petition under the Article 32. In this judgment, the court widened the scope of an aggrieved person and allowed the petition to move forward to hear the contention of both sides. Now, I would say that this is probably sneakily also a direct question, because if you look at the answer choices, there is a specific word in one of the cases which is Kamgar. So Kamgar means workers. So if this particular statement has been made in a case regarding the rights of workers, then it is just one of the answer choices which has the word Kamgar in it. So probably even if you were to guess from among the answer choices, this word should give you a clue that option C is the correct answer. Question number 96. which of the following PILs is related to proper maintenance of cultural heritage of India as also the ecology of the surrounding areas of the Taj Mahal? Now remember I told you about our professor telling us that if you have a doubt and one of the options happens to be MC Mehta, then just select it. That would be probably the correct answer. And I also mentioned that there are more than one cases with the same title, so you have to pay attention to the year of that particular case. So this is a perfect example of that, where all the answer choices are the MC Mehta case, and the only differentiating factor is the year of the case. Now this should have been a direct question, because if you are aware of the specific case, the MC Mehta versus Union of India cases are pretty much all of them are landmark cases. So if you have read them and if you are aware of what happened in each of these cases, then you should be able to identify the correct answer from the year of the case itself directly from the question. However, I've also put question marks for this particular question, because looks like the answer choices in this question are incorrect, and this question should have been challenged, because the MC Mehta versus Union of India and others as on 10th October 2007 is actually the Taj Heritage Corridor project related case, which is not among the answer options, and this should have been the one of the options, because this is the correct answer. But as per the answer key, they are referring to MC Mehta versus Union of India case from the year 2008. The 2008 case is related to the construction on land situated in the Aravalli range, and this is nothing to do with the Taj Mahal. Therefore, this has been indicated as the correct answer choice. However, looks like this was a small typo, because instead of 2007 they have put 2008 here, and this question should have been challenged. However, it was not. With that, we come to the end of this part, and I will see you again in the next part of this video series. Please do go to lawment.com and check out our free mock test series, and if you are interested, you can purchase the CLAT PG mock test and previous question paper series to prepare for the upcoming exam. And you'll also find mock tests and previous papers for other exams such as the IELTS PG, IIT KGP LLM, DU LLM, BHU LLM, and also the UGC NET paper 2. So that's it for now, and I will see you again in the next video. Till then, take care and stay safe.